Welcome to episode 15 of Birds vs. Boys. The Dallas Cowboys are now back in first place in the NFC Least with a backup quarterback. I think the Eagles know something about that, huh? Maybe it's our year. You got KMess here. I am happy and elated and heartbroken at the same time. And I'm with the one and only Bird, Aidan Powers.
Heartbroken and elated at the same time is how I've lived my 25 years of life as a Philadelphia sports fan. So I'm right there with you, buddy. It's not going to be the most enthusiastic, uplifting show that we ever do, but we're here, and it's a ton of content to get to.
Yes, we got a lot, and I'm here with Andy Dalton, my new best friend. But we are going to swing around the NFL pretty quickly. We're going to give you the scores, minimal highlights, and then we are going to get into the Dak Prescott-less Cowboys and the new best receiver in the league tandem in Philadelphia.
Thank you for acknowledging that fact.
You're welcome. So, as always, if you are watching on YouTube, producer Vince is going to put up the 60-second clock. If you are listening on Apple or Spotify or Google or wherever else you're listening, you can't see the clock. But we're going to go around the NFL in hopefully 60 seconds. Probably not. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Always bet on the team that fires their head coach. The Houston Texans win 30-13.
What do you know? The Falcons lost, and they finally fired their coach. Panthers 23, Falcons 16.
Welcome to the big boy league, Joe Burrow. He gets buried by the Ravens 27-3 on the road.
Why are the Jets still showing up for games? Cardinals 30, Jets 10.
I wear a Raiders shirt on Branded Sports Radio on Saturday, and then on Sunday they go out and beat the champs 40-32.
Shocker of the week, Dolphins 43, 49ers shellacked at home 17.
Alex Smith is back playing NFL snaps. Absolutely incredible, but the football team still stinks, and they lose 30-10 to the Rams.
The Browns are legit. They win the 3-1 matchup of the week over the Colts 32-23.
Vikings can't get 1 inch. Thank God DK is not an Eagle. They lose 27-26 in Seattle.
I think we did it.
I think we did it. I think we hit it.
All right.
On the spot. There's a couple games that ones we're getting Tuesday night football this week. We still have the Monday night game tonight. We didn't do the Thursday or our two teams games.
And there was a game postponed. So we had a lot of help, but we did it. It's like the NFC East.
It's all that matters.
We made it to the point we need to make it to. Like, someone's going to win the division. Nothing else matters.
Remember when Seattle won their division 7-9 and the Saints had to go up there?
Yep.
And beast mode caused an earthquake? What happened?
There you go.
They won.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't matter.
So before we get into our games, because obviously that's going to dominate what we're talking about today, especially with the Dak thing, I had 3 talking points. It's literally just bullet pointed, and then we can be done.
Yep.
As an extension of Around the NFL. If you have 3 as well,
perfect.
We can kind of go back and forth, or I can do my 3 straight. How would you like to?
Let's just go your 3 straight and my 3 straight.
All right.
In and out.
Sounds good. I'll go first because I think we should start with the Cowboys first in terms of our content today.
Agreed.
So here's the 3 that I had. Dwayne Haskins was definitely not sick with the virus. He definitely didn't show up. And because of that, Alex Smith played meaningful football, which is good for him, but still crazy.
It is.
Congrats to the Cardinals on proving they weren't bad. So that was the ultimate prove you're not bad game. And we're going to get into it probably either this show or next show. But now they're going to be in a prove you're good game against the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. And then the last one, Fitzmagic just won't die. Like, there was talk of Tua coming in, and then they go on the road and beat the shit out of the 49ers 43-17. And what was a shock, Fitzmagic will never die.
No,
so those are my 3.
I don't want Fitzmagic ever to die.
Me neither. I'm just saying, like, it was getting to be that time where it's like, all right, you have this rookie quarterback he took in the first round. It's about that time. And then he comes out with that all-time performance. Yep. And they win. They had to bench Jimmy G. That's how good the Dolphins were. So it'll never end. Like, he'll always give you just enough.
Yep. He'll never get you all the way, but he'll give you enough to keep him there for a little bit.
Exactly.
Until he moves on to his 47th team.
Exactly.
All right. 3. So my 3 is Tuesday. All the league owners and heads are going to have a Zoom conference call talking about how to continue to handle the COVID situation with games being rescheduled. They do not want to have to go to a week 18. but it's still on the table very much so. I feel like that sort of thing is going to happen. Pat McAfee keeps saying on the Pat McAfee show that they know for a fact that the NFL has all of the hotels in Tampa booked out a month after the Super Bowl. So they have the ability to move the Super Bowl back and still own Tampa Bay for that month out. So that is on the table. My second, Phillip Rivers is washed. We were both excited for him heading into this season. Fitzmagic's not dead. Phillip Rivers is dead.
Yeah. I mean, they can still win the division.
Which is welcome to the NFC East too.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and my last one, wins at MetLife Stadium. MetLife Stadium stinks, but wins at MetLife Stadium in 2020. Ready for this? The New York Giants, 0. The New York Jets, 0. The New York Generals, 2. Bring back the XFL.
Remember it's an XFL team.
Yes.
Oh, no way.
The New York Generals had 2 wins at MetLife Stadium. The 2 NFL teams that play in that stadium, 0 combined wins.
This week for my fantasy podcast that I do separate from this, I got way too carried away and said the Falcons were a terrorist organization that should be banished to the XFL. That's where I'm at with the Falcons. They couldn't beat the New York Generals. I can guarantee it.
I would love to see it. I mean, they're waiting until 2022, but just bring it back now.
Yeah, honestly, let's just do it. Half of these teams, like the Jets and the Falcons, are on their way. That's why the Falcons changed their jerseys. They were just transitioning to the XFL.
And now they're saying Arthur Blank is not tied to Matt Ryan long term.
Yeah, no shit.
Watch, he's going to end up in Dallas, and Dak's going to go win a Super Bowl in Atlanta.
That would be a wild turn of events.
Would be.
But you brought up Dak, so I think we should start with the Cowboys first today. Mm-hmm. I've got some questions. I'll kind of guide us through this and kind of alley-oop to you.
I got all my talking points too. So
good. Perfect. I know before we started, he said, "Are you drinking?" And I was like, I wasn't planning to. But you, because of this situation, even in a win, you are still drinking. So you've got your
quarterback
set up.
Lost my quarterback. I'm going. I don't know if you've had this one. Labatt Blue has seltzers now. I'm a seltzer guy. Some people may make fun of the seltzers. Seltzers are great. Love White Claw. Love Truly, but these are the best seltzers on the market right now. This is black cherry lime. They've got mango, lemon. It's delicious. It's refreshing. It's 5%. I think White Claws are only 4.5%. So it's delicious. It's Canadian, and it gets you drunk. So, I mean, what's better? Hey, Labatt, you like football now? We like football. You like football.
The can
looks good on a shelf back here. I can put a shelf.
I know people can't see it, but even the sound of it, that nice little crack, gave them the effect. Yeah,
delicious.
It was like ASMR for a second.
Kelsey and Brandon wants me to do that. She said, "You have a very good ASMR voice. You should just whisper to people." I'm like, I don't know what that means, but it scares me.
If both of our teams keep losing, we're gonna have to come up with content ideas, and that'll still be very far down the list. I hope we don't get there, but we might.
All right. So breaking news, if you missed it, Dak Prescott out for the year. He dislocated his ankle, went through the skin. He had successful surgery on Sunday night. He is already out of the hospital on Monday. He's back home recovering. And the recovery, they're saying, is 4 to 6 months. I have no doubt that he's going to try and push that recovery time. He's good. He's not playing again this season, obviously, but I have no doubt in my mind, and I will say it again, I have no doubt in my mind that Dak Prescott is the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys again next season.
Yes, I think so too. I thought that was going to be the whole time. So let's split it into 2 parts because it's hard to encapsulate everything. Mm-hmm. So let's do the moment itself when he gets hurt, and then where we go from here long term. So let's start here with just your initial reaction. Like it happens. And I see, it's one of those plays where Dallas Cowboys fans have been screaming for more design runs for Dak. He gets like 1 a game. People want more. And he's one of those quarterbacks that, he's kind of like Wentz too. He's not going down easy, right? He's going to fight for every yard that he can get. And sometimes it's pretty stupid. And he was out in the open field and he puts out that stiff arm. And first I'm like, oh God, don't break your hand or something. And of course it's freaking Logan Ryan, who we talked about 1,000 times in the offseason. He signed right before the freaking season. But I mean, there was no one's fault, no ill
intent, obviously. It was just one of those freak football accidents where, Dak's a big dude. So Logan Ryan had to use his whole body weight to try and drag him down. And it just, he fell on it the way he fell on it. Now, when I was watching the vantage point, I saw him go down, but I couldn't really tell what it was. And then they just showed him and he was grabbing his calf. And as Tony Romo says, I think it's a calf injury. I'm like, ooh, maybe. Okay. Yeah, it's a calf. It's okay. And then like a half a second later, they moved the camera and I was like, oh God, that's not a cramp.
No, it was not. See, I saw it right away. So I saw it live. Like as he was being tackled, I saw the leg and I was like, oh my God. Like, and my girlfriend was sitting next to me. So I like covered her eyes. I was like, just don't look. And in that moment, Tony Romo was like, well, it could just be a cramp. And I'm like, his foot's going the wrong way. It is not a cramp. And I love Tony Romo, but that is going to go down as just one of like and it wasn't malicious, but it was just going to go down as one of the most like tone deaf comments, quotes of all time. I feel bad, but yeah. So that immediately I was like, oh God, like this is horrible.
Think about what was happening in that stadium yesterday, right? So Jerry Jones is watching the Dallas Cowboys play the Giants in his stadium with only 25 or 30,000 fans, which pisses him off already because he's losing money. His former man crush, Jason Garrett, is across the sideline now, coaching for the Giants. And his former man crush quarterback is calling the game for CBS while his new franchise quarterback is done for the season on the field.
Yeah.
If this is not Jerry Jones's complete nightmare, I don't know what is.
Well, I'm not feeling bad for Jerry Jones. He's very low on my list of people I'm feeling bad for.
I do have to give a shout out though to Jason Garrett. He was one of the first people out there.
I was just about
Dak.
to say, yep, that was the moment where it really hit me.
Yeah,
where it's like you could feel the magnitude of the moment and just him going off the field with the tears in his eyes and just like. It made me want to tear up just like watching it. And when Jason Garrett came over, I keep forgetting that Jason Garrett is a coach on the Giants. This is number one. But number two, like him coming over and just the respect that people carry for this guy, that even his former people who have been around him want to stick around him in a moment like that. And that's what really hit me when he came over.
Yeah. And beyond that, like the outpouring on Twitter, and not even from like famous or athletes, obviously that's going to happen, right? Patrick Mahomes, Carson Wentz, they're all, but the outpouring of support from Philadelphia Eagle fans has been unbelievable. One guy, there was one clown who tweeted at Brandon that he was happy about it. One clown out of a ton. So, I mean, shout out to the Eagles fans. It's something you never want to see. I don't care. I never want to see Carson Wentz get hurt. I mean, his MVP season, you should not. If you root for an injury, just stop being a fan ever.
Yeah, I never root for that. Especially, I always say this, I could do a lot of different professions. Like in another life, I think I could be a lawyer, but I could never be a doctor. Like when his leg snapped, I was like, oh God, this is the worst. And Vince is bringing up Giovanni, who that kid is awesome. And he's such a good representation of the Eagles fan base. We need to start like bringing more positivity, like not just Eagles fans, just in general. We always find like the one clown who has the outlandish take that's tasteless. We need to start promoting kids like that instead of the people with the ridiculous, tasteless takes, because that's what you want to see. But it's just the magnitude of that moment just really caught me. And you brought it up, just you could tell across the board. It was other athletes, other teams' fans, just the respect that he had. And like, I'll never forget that moment watching Wentz walk off that field. And it took me right back there when he was crying, getting carted off that field. Like, that is the lowest moment that you will ever feel as a fan.
Yeah, it was. My wife looked at me and I was at my in-laws' house and she's like, what happened? And I'm like, not good. And I couldn't even talk. It was just like one of those moments where it's like, it just goes through you. We talk about them on here. We invest so much as fans into these players that a little piece of my ankle broke.
Yeah, right. I wish I could just give you my ankle back.
Yeah, you can get out there and do what you got to do, but he can't. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, or 4 to 6 months. 6 weeks would be nice.
Yeah, buddy.
But
got bad news for you.
I mean, like I said, I have no doubt that he'll either be franchised again, or sign a long-term deal once he's allowed to negotiate again. Since he's under the franchise tag, he can't negotiate during the season. But I would bet the house that he gets franchised again.
Well, that's the issue that kind of caught me as well, among everything else that has been going on in his life. And this isn't a I told you so moment, but one of the first ever shows we did, we were talking about Dak and Andy Dalton being the backup and how he's a mobile quarterback who has never gotten hurt, and the law of averages could catch up to you, and there's no security behind you in terms of a contract. And that played out exactly. It's a design run play. He gets hurt. He's out for the season. Where does each party go from here? We don't know.
Nope.
You think it'll be a franchise tag, but we kind of like saw that coming, and it was like the worst case scenario you didn't want to see, and it played out. Like if you run the simulation in Black Mirror 100 times, that happens once, maybe twice, and that's what happened, which makes it just even more like there's no good time to break your ankle, but that was the absolute worst.
Yeah, no. And now it's one of those seasons where, as a Cowboys fan, and I'll get in before we go into the Eagles, and we'll put the Dak stuff kind of to bed. I'll talk in general about how the Cowboys played yesterday and what they do looking forward. But I mean, this brought shades back of a couple of years ago when Romo got hurt, and they go to Brandon Weeden, and then they trade for Matt Castle. And it was just a complete disaster. But now, the team is sort of close, but not at all at the same time. And it's like you're right here, like, okay, do we want them to tank now? And you exactly, you don't. But at the same time, it's like, all right, so now they have Andy Dalton coming in, which I feel like Andy Dalton's going to bring them to 6-10, 7-9, or 8-8, kind of the same that Dak would have done. So it's like, do you want to? It's so frustrating as a fan, because for a split second you're like, you know what? Maybe I wish they had Brandon Weeden this year, and then they just win 2 games and they have a top 5 pick. But then as soon as the thought isn't even out of your brain, you're like, nope.
No, you can't do that. And let's transition to that with the Andy Dalton thing, because
it's Andy time, baby.
Andy time. Look, I would be remiss if I wasn't going to tell you how excited I am. Barring injury to either quarterback, we are going to have an all ginger matchup coming up in a few weeks. I am very excited.
And I told you before, my power rankings for the best looking gingers in the NFL: Andy Dalton 1, Aidan Powers 2, Carson Wentz 3.
May have to argue that, but I will take second place for now. But I think for the Cowboys, everything has changed and nothing has changed.
Yep.
Because no matter who the quarterback is, Jeff Kavanaugh brought this up when we had him on the show last week. This defense needs to get to average. I don't know how they do it. They're not going to get to good, but they at least need to get to average. And you saw it play out against the Giants. I've been telling you guys this. I keep saying it on every show. They're going to be in a shootout every week. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of the offense doing enough. And I think you saw, like against the Giants, they give up 34 points, but they scored 37. Yep. And I just, the defense, and I think they're still going to score points. This is the best weaponry that Andy Dalton has ever had.
Yep.
Zeke will become more effective, hand it off to him 20 times a game. But this defense needs to get from bad to average, and they're still going to be okay. Like, this team will be okay, but it's not because of the quarterback. It's all on this defense to figure this out.
So I'll run through all of that quickly. I think this offense is perfectly built for Andy Dalton. He's a rhythm thrower, right? He likes to snap, get rid of it, snap, get rid of it. And the way they run slants and the comebacks and those 3 receivers, mm-hmm. they're going to be able to get him into that rhythm. And then having Zeke, who will be his new best friend, they're going to have to somewhat transition back to that 2016 type offense where it's more 65% run. But the way they do that is they're going to have to reshuffle this offensive line. And if that means putting your all pro, Zach Martin out at tackle, you got to do it. The Dallas Cowboys invested a 2nd-round pick in Connor McGovern, and he has never taken the field. You need to see if this kid can play. And we need to put the top 5 guys out there. And if that means putting Martin at tackle, you put Martin at tackle. You have Biotish at center. You put Connor McGovern at guard. You have Connor Williams at the other guard and Brandon Knight at the other tackle. It's, both of our tackles now are gone for the season. It's done. Our quarterback gone for the season. Done. Our all-pro center retired before the season started. Our starting tight end done for the season. Our starting defensive tackle, who is the worst defensive tackle in the league, but the best defensive tackle on this team, done for the season. So I don't know where they go, but they need to get there, and they need to get there quickly. Now, you said, also, before I go anywhere else, they're going to have to bring in another quarterback. Obviously, they have Ben DiNucci, who's the backup now. He's a rookie from JMU. I don't know. Maybe they'll look at Cooper Rush, who they had, or Tyler Thorson, who was in there probably, but they're going to have to bring someone else in. Or we have Lindsey OK coming on later. Maybe they make a move and try and throw a 7th-round pick for Josh Rosen. You never know.
True. That is actually a good thought.
You never know. But this defense, they made the Giants look like the Chiefs, right? And we all knew that was going to happen.
It's and you know what? It could have been. You know what's crazy? They scored 34, and it could have been worse. They had two touchdowns wiped off the board on two questionable penalties, where on special teams, the tackle wasn't totally set by a half of a second, and it wipes away a touchdown because they didn't realize Evan Ingram went off the field. And then it was a pick play that wasn't really a pick play. He was just running his route, and they ran into each other. It's this defense, like I said, they don't have to be good, but here's the blueprint for them, I think, going forward. And it's you're asking the bare minimum. It's the group project. You have to do one slide, do one PowerPoint slide. Yep. And I think it is one, you have to force one turnover, flip the field one time.
Which they did.
And they did, which was perfect. I was about to say, for a touchdown, flip the field one time, and 2, get one key stop, which they did. Yep. So they had the turnover for a touchdown the first half. And then they got the offense the ball back so they could run the 2-minute drill at the end of the game. You're not asking for much, but this defense has to be able to do those two things, and they're going to be fine. The offense will work itself out if Dalton stays healthy, because the weapons are incredible for anybody.
CeeDee Lamb is a grown-ass man, and Michael Gallup is a killer. Those 2 catches were just unbelievable. And he had a quiet day leading up to then, but that's why you don't have to put up 100 yards, 200 yards every game. If you make 2 catches like that, that's all you got to do.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're pretty good. They're no Travis Fulgham, but they are all right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, this defense, like we said, the worst part of it, and Jeff Kavanaugh said it with us last week, is the defensive tackles, right? And now they lose Tristan Hill for the season. ACL, he's done. He's been graded out as the worst defensive tackle in the league, but he's been making plays. So now they're stuck with Dontari Poe, who just doesn't look like he even wants to play. Tyrone Crawford, who's been just getting punched off the ball. He didn't play terrible this weekend, but not great. And then they have the rookie Neville Gallimore, who's also Canadian. Shout out Labatt Blue. But they're going to have to do something for defensive tackle. Hey, it's poaching season. Snacks Harrison, he's sitting on the Seattle practice squad. Go poach him. You need a big body up the middle. Clown Lawrence, like you said, he showed up yesterday. He had a big-time sack strip, and then Anthony Brown, who's been hurt, played in his first game in a while, picked it up, ran it for the touchdown. Huge. If they can make one play like that a game, it's great. Clown Smith played his best game of the year yesterday. And why is that? Because they had him playing downhill, not side to side, and that's where he thrives. He can't change direction anymore. He's almost more of a pass rusher. They need to get him north and south. They did yesterday, and he played really, really well. Now there's rumors that Leighton Vander Esch is going to be back Monday night against the Cardinals. Arizona, yeah. So that could be huge. That scares the shit out of me because he could re-fracture his collarbone on the first hit of the game.
I was about to say that did not.
It was week 1.
They rushed that. If he plays on Monday night, that kid has so many injuries to rush him back on this collarbone thing. I don't care what straits you're in. You can't do that. You just can't do that.
But if he does play and he plays well, that's also going to help out Jalen Smith, because then that's going to take the play calling duties away from him again. Like Jeff Kavanaugh said, that will help this defense. They're also hopefully going to be getting Chidobe Awuzie back. which, again, not an all-pro, but he will help this defense. I mean, there's nothing to help the safety position unless they just go get Earl Thomas, which we found out definitely probably not is going to happen. But Jeff even tweeted yesterday, this was during the game, the Cowboys have a guy named Steven Parker from OU that no one has ever heard of, and he's playing at safety. That's how good our safeties are. I saw 40 out there. I'm like, I have no idea who this is.
Well, don't worry. That's how that's how I felt about Travis Fulgham. Now he's a superstar. Maybe he's getting the fucking next Troy Polamalu.
But like you said, if the defense can do a couple good things a game, if the special teams cannot just suck. I mean, Greg Zuerlein, every time he kicks the ball, I got my heart in my throat.
It's what is that?
I don't know.
He's hitting curveballs with a football.
Just kick it straight.
I know.
Just kick it through the uprights. It doesn't have to. I thought he was going to miss at the end.
Sidewinder. Like the Tampa Bay Rays are fucking looking at that like they want to sign him with the movement he gets on the ball.
And let's just stop getting cute. Just you get the 25 for free. Jeff said it. Let the ball go in the end zone. They were better yesterday, I feel like, on field position. But if Zeke gets going, if they eat the clock, which will also help the defense does what you say. Andy Dalton stays healthy. They're still a 6-10, 7-9, 8-8 team, which can totally win this division.
All it takes, baby. We'll get into previewing next week on Wednesday's recording, Thursday's show. And I'll get into some things I would like to see the Cowboys do. But here's a hint, because I'm going to bring it up with the Eagles here in a few seconds. Stop doing stupid things. Like, just stop doing stupid things. And now that you have a backup quarterback and you don't have a quarterback who can bail you out and throw for 423 yards a game, you can't shoot yourself in the foot so much. Nope. So, like, we'll talk about it next time. But just don't do stupid stuff.
Exactly. Just be smart.
If I was Mike McCarthy, that's what I would say. Hey, idiots, stop doing dumb things.
Hey, idiots, stop being idiots.
Yeah, just stop being idiots. Speaking of
idiots. That's all I got. But I do want to say, obviously, from both of us, Dak, we know you're listening. Whole Prescott family, we're praying for you.
Absolutely, for sure. All right, ready to flip it?
Yes, let's go.
Eagles. Okay, would you like me to start with the good or the bad? Actually, never mind. I think we should start with the good. I'm a positive person.
I took, as a Cowboys fan, watching the game with my wife and a ton of Eagles fans, I took a lot of positives out yesterday for the Eagles.
There were. That was the most competent the offense has looked all year. So let's just get into the offense then. The Fulgham thing is hilarious. Like,
unbelievable.
This is just hilarious at this point, because the 49ers game was one thing where he had 2 receptions. He had the big touchdown where it was really Wentz threw a beautiful ball. But Sunday was just miraculous. 10 receptions. And it wasn't just that he had 10 receptions. It was like on key third downs and key moments where Wentz was just like, all right, I have to find Fulgham.
Yep.
Like, you can't see, there's no substance to things like momentum or confidence. You can't see it, but you could like feel it growing with each quarter in that game. Like, you could feel Wentz being like, okay, where's Fulgham? Like, the fact that we're at that point where Wentz is like, okay, I have to, this is a key play. This is a key third down.
Where's 13?
Yeah. Where's 13? Because he spent the past 4 years being like, okay, if I throw it to 13, this is going to be a disaster. But that's where we're at. There was a play. I tweeted it out today. I believe it was 3rd and long, and he drops an absolute dime between 3 people to Fulgham. And it's just hilarious at this point.
It is.
1, because the guy came out of nowhere, but 2, like, Wentz is just begging for someone to have confidence in, and it turns out it's this guy from Old Dominion that we never even knew about.
I mean, but that's what Carson Wentz does too. I mean, he did it with Greg Ward last year. He had a touchdown again. I mean, Wentz is the type of quarterback that if he has somebody that even has that much type of talent, he can get it to them and turn them into a day like it was yesterday for Fulgham. He
very much is a guy who, like, he doesn't play favorites, but you can tell, like, I don't blame him for I always said this in the past because it's come full circle because now Zach Ertz is terrible. But he used to target Ertz all the time. I'm like, because he'd throw it to Ertz and Ertz would be open and he'd catch it. It's not hard. Like, he's clearly not comfortable throwing it to Aguilar, who drops it all the time, and he throws it to Ertz and he catches it. Like, this is not a hard thing. And another part with that is The theory that I've had with Wentz since he got in the league, because he's a bigger guy, he's 6'5". He likes throwing to bigger bodied wide receivers. Think about who we love throwing it to.
Alshon.
Goddard. Alshon. Yep, exactly. When he took off when they traded for Alshon in his sophomore season. Zach Ertz, who we just brought up. And now Fulgham. And if you've ever played baseball and pitched, you know this. Who was it easier to throw strikes for? The tall kid who is bigger, or the little tiny runt who was like 5'4"? It shrinks your strike zone when someone is small.
Yep.
Him being 6'5", you see he was like he doesn't overthrow, but he throws it high a lot. Now you get a guy like Fulgham who high points the ball, thank God, because no other Eagles receiver has done it for years. And 2, is big and physical and could go get it. Like, this is what Carson needs to succeed. Like, this is what I'm not saying Fulgham is Julio Jones. I'm not getting into these jokes again. I fell for that one time. But like that's the type of receiver he needs.
Yep. No, I loved everything I saw out of him yesterday. Even when he drops the ball, he still catches it. That one where it was like wobbling, it's unbelievable.
I know. I did think he dropped that one. But it's like, I'm looking around. We've talked about the Cardinals a few times. Like, Kyler Murray takes off, and David Murphy wrote a great article today on it. Like, it's not a secret science. There's no secret sauce. The Cardinals got DeAndre Hopkins, so Kyler Murray took off. The Bills went and traded for Stephon Diggs, and Josh Allen's having an MVP season. Russell Wilson had Tyler Lockett. They added DK Metcalf to the mix. He's having an MVP season. Dak Prescott is having a breakout season. This is his best season until he got hurt, because they have CD, Gallup is taking off, and Amari Cooper is re-signed. Like, there's no secret sauce. Just put talented people around. It's like if the Property Brothers walked into a house and there wasn't a roof, you know what they'd say? This house needs a roof. Exactly. You need a roof. The Eagles, like, this is such an easy fix.
But they're the Eagles are the Property Brothers, where they walk in, there's no roof. And they're like, I really want to put like a bar over here next to the entertainment center. And they're like, you need a roof.
Yeah. It was so obvious. Like, you went through that whole December where he had nobody to throw to. And he's still having that issue where there's like coverage shacks because nobody gets open. And they walked into the house with no roof, and they're like, you know what we need? A second fireplace behind the one that we already have. That is not a Ginger joke. But it's like so obvious. Like, he wants someone who he can trust and throw to, who can actually get open, especially on third downs. And I don't know if Fulgham is the answer long term. Probably not, but he's very clearly a solid option. But they need to go get a wide receiver 1. So many problems will be fixed, and you can mirror and just kind of put like a curtain over your other issues if Wentz had somebody who was reliable to throw to. Like, if DeAndre Hopkins is on this team, they are not 1-3-1. They're probably 4-1.
If DK Metcalf's on that team, if CD Lamb's on that team,
yes,
it's true. Now, is this like just a Philadelphia sports thing in general? Because I'm just feeling like the same thing's going to happen with JT Realmuto leaving the Phillies. Like, there's your roof, there's your security blanket, and
I think 3 of the 4 teams are on the same thing where, okay, you've gotten the lead actor, but then you don't fill out the supporting cast. Like, what would The Office be if it was just Steve Carell wandering around an empty office? That's what they're doing with Wentz. Like, okay, and with Harper, with Embiid, like, you won. Like, you did the hardest part, which is to find a bona fide star. Like, you did it.
Yep.
And a lot of teams struggle for that for years, and you did it. But now you can't do the easy part, which is to find valuable role guys. It blows my mind. Speaking of this, because I'll just keep the rant going, because
this is your segment.
Who they played, the Steelers. When I say they're the gold standard, I don't mean like just the fact that they have 6 Super Bowls. I saw this stat today. They have never taken a receiver in the first round. Here's the receivers that they've had in the first round since the turn of the decade. Or I'm sorry, not in the first round. This is who they've drafted outside of the first round. Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, James Washington, and Chase Claypool, who had 4 touchdowns yesterday.
I told you to watch out for Chase, didn't I?
You did. We called like how this
Mhm.
game was going to play out. I said Miles Sanders game, he had 2 touchdowns. I said it was going to be the other receivers because Darius Slay would be able to cover Juju, but Jalen Mills and the other guys wouldn't be able to cover the other receivers for
Mhm.
Pittsburgh. That is exactly how it played out.
100%.
But that's why I consider them the gold standard. They are able to draft and develop people, and the Eagles are clearly struggling mightily at doing this.
And it blows your mind that happens. Like a guy that's so smart, like Howie Roseman, and how he can manipulate the cap and make the moves. He can't find that type of talent outside of the first round.
Yeah, and people want to fire Howie Roseman, and I get that. Like, you can't draft this poorly and keep your job, but I think there is a role with him. There's no one better in the league at salary cap management than he is. But there needs to be like almost, I don't think co-captains and co-managers work. Going back to The Office, like that's one of the funniest episodes when they're co-managers.
Mhm.
But there clearly needs to be another guy who's in charge of drafting and scouting. And if Howie just works the books, we'll be fine. But him being the guy who's putting the call in on draft day is not working.
So that's kind of how the Cowboys do it now. Obviously, it's Jerry Jones still at the top. He's the owner and the general manager. But then there's Stephen Jones, who controls the cap, also has say in personnel. And then they have Will McClay, who's really their personnel guy. He's kind of like a pseudo GM, but not really. But he's really in charge of the draft and personnel. And since that, I mean, their drafts have, besides a few with Taco Charlton and that, the drafts have been great. And because of Will McClay, they have Zach Martin and not
Johnny Manziel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it can work that way.
And we did have Joe Douglas, who went to the Jets, but how talented was he? Because he was still in here in 2017, which I see to be their worst draft in a decade. So, and he was in charge of that. And now, I mean, it's not like the Jets are drafting well now. So I don't know.
Jets do anything well?
Yeah, they don't do anything. They can't do anything right. We can't even talk about them.
No.
We'll get into that on Wednesday's show. But yeah, so their whole thing, the Eagles' whole thing, it doesn't matter where they draft, where they end up. It's just such an obvious fix. Like Wentz is clearly playing better now, but he has more. He's trusting his weapons more, and they're getting open. Like this is so easy. Yep. This is not hard. Nope. The test says 2 + 2, and the Eagles keep putting 5. It's 4. Just put 4. And it's so easy.
Stop being an idiot, idiots.
Yeah, exactly. Stop being an idiot. So I'll go through let's do those because I have like quick bullet points on the Eagles that's one of them. So stop doing dumb things. When you're running a 2-minute drill, John Hightower, go out of bounds and save a timeout. Don't run back inside. Then you waste a timeout. And then when Wentz throws it to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and he celebrates his first catch of the year when there's 6 seconds left, we don't have a timeout and we can't clock the ball and we don't get a field goal.
That was my favorite thing of the season.
It was hilarious. It was very ironic that was his first catch and it ended up being meaningless.
And again, back to Jeff Kavanaugh, that's what he said last week. If we can't do the job mentally, you're not allowed to do the job physically.
I love that quote. And I know John Hightower is a rookie. I hope he learns, but that is now 2 times he has done that in 5 games of his NFL career. Great quote from Kavanaugh. And the other one that I wanted to bring up, well, actually, I'll do this one first because the Nate Gary play.
With the Chase Claypool play?
Yes. I, at this point, just feel bad for Nate Gary.
Yeah.
You know? Like you feel the same way about Jalen Smith, and I know it's different because he's getting $12 million and Gary's getting $130,000. But right, like this, it is.
He just got turned around. He's trying so hard,
exactly,
and he wants to be there. He just can't.
It's the same with Jalen Smith. Like you talk about it, but you're seeing these guys, and at this point, and it's the same with Jalen Mills. Like I keep seeing fans getting mad at them. Like there is a limit. There is a cap on the amount of talent they have.
This is what it is.
This is what it is. Like there is a limit on the talent that they have. You cannot keep getting mad at them. The problem is they're keep being put in positions to fail.
Yep.
That is the bigger issue. When I was like, because there's no other option there, and that can go back to the drafting. Like, here's the problem: Jim Schwartz putting him in that position on that play, 1, but also 2, like him being in these positions all year It's because they don't have another linebacker they can choose.
Exactly.
And like, yeah, it's like I can go back to drafting and development for every issue the Eagles have, but it's just like you can't be mad at Nate Gary at this point. You can't be mad at Jalen Mills because you've watched them every week
and you know who they are.
You know who they are.
Yep.
They are who we thought they were, and they're not good. I had so this I was thinking about this because Shannon Sharp had a viral video going around of him talking about like a kid couldn't speak in his class, so he got kicked out. And I had something like similar happen to me where there were like kids in my class couldn't read, and the teacher kept calling on them. And the kids in my class, the other kids would make fun of the kid who couldn't read. And I got mad one day. I was like, the teacher, like, you're the idiot who keeps calling on them to read. They can't fucking read.
Yeah, so stop calling on them.
Stop calling on them. Nate Gary and Jalen Mills can't fucking read. They also suck at defense. So stop calling on them to read in class. It's not going to happen. Like, this is not their problem. This is Jim Schwartz putting them in positions to fail, and Howie Roseman putting Jim Schwartz in positions to fail. Like this chain of command where we get mad at this guy who's not talented because we don't have a talented person is not on them.
No, it's not. It's on the higher up that puts the not talented person. It's like it's game 7 of the World Series, and you're throwing your 8th best pitcher to start the game, and he gives up 4 home runs in the first inning. You're like, why did you? What?
Yeah,
you were supposed to go 9 scoreless.
I know. We just went through this with the Phillies bullpen. Like, you knew they weren't going to get outs. Like, they just aren't good. But you can't be mad at freaking Connor Brogdon for not getting outs. They're not good. It's not his fault. Like, the Brad Workman is not good. He's not going to get you 3 outs in the 9th inning. It's not his fault. It's Joe Girardi for putting him out there, and it's Matt Klentak for having Joe Girardi have to put this guy out here. Like, we're just going through the same cycle. I might go insane.
Go? I think you're already there.
I'm already there. Who is Pepe Sylvia?
I love this. This is what happens too, ladies and gentlemen. We set a goal for this podcast, right? We're gonna go 32 minutes. We're at 43 minutes right now. This is just what happens. So, but we're having fun, and I know you're all listening, and no one has turned it off, so you're just enjoying it. Trust me, we want to make the podcast shorter, but it's just impossible because these teams, one, they're idiots and they do idiotic things, so we need to talk about it. And it's just, we got to go around the NFL a little bit too.
If we had games like the Ravens where they just won 27-0 over the Bengals, this podcast would be done in 10 minutes. I could be out of here and be like, hey, Lamar looked good. Running game looked good. Defense looked good. Okay, Kevin. See you next week.
Yeah, that'll be next Monday after you guys play the Ravens.
Right. If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Everything's good.
All right. You're 4-1. We're 4-1. You're undefeated. Okay.
All right.
We'll
see you next week.
See you next week. That'd be so easy.
It'd be so much fun. But that's what makes this even more fun.
And we have 2 teams where they're going to keep you in it to the bitter end because they do these stupid things. But like you said, there were positives that you could take out from that game.
That's what's good about this season with this podcast, too. At least we're both in the same predicament. Because if one team was 4-0 and the other's 1-2-1, we might just we're just closing up shop.
Yeah. Now it's fun because we'll be in it. And they make enough mistakes that you're like, this sucks. But they also do enough good things where you're like, we have a chance.
It's the Godfather. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in every time.
Every time. So yeah, I mean, I know I harped on the defense being bad and they weren't great, but that was the best the offenses looked, and I was very happy with it, even in the loss. I don't have too many bad things to say against what was a really, really good Steelers defense.
Yeah, I mean, they were in the game. Towards the end of the game, I said, here we go again. This is the type of game that Wentz is going to win. And it just wasn't meant to be. But they were in the game towards the end.
Yeah, and even the field goal, like I didn't even hate the field goal call. I hated it more when I found out no one's ever made a field goal over 54 yards going that direction at Heinz Field.
In that stadium, yeah.
Yeah, but he had the leg to hit. It wasn't like he left it short.
Yep.
So there was like nothing. The running game could have been better, but that's more the Steelers are good. And they had 5 sacks, but it was like coverage sacks, and they pinned their ears back when it was 4th and 20, for a makeshift offensive line playing their second game together, and Lane Johnson going out, like, they weren't bad. Like,
they held up.
You gotta moral victories aren't fun, but it wasn't terrible. Like I'm pretty happy.
On a 1-2-1 team, you'll take some moral victories.
We'll take it. But yeah, I mean, even more so than that, like if they would have came out and not look good on offense, I'd probably be folding up shop for the year. But they hung with a very good Steelers team that entire time.
No, you put them on upset alert, and they were sort of on upset alert almost the whole game.
Yeah, exactly. And what was probably the most exciting game of the week, and that leads me into my last point. Despite it being the most excited game of the week, that was one of the worst broadcasts and officiated games I've ever watched.
All right, so I was at a bar, so I was not listening to the broadcast.
So it was Jonathan Vilma's first game, so I'm gonna cut him some slack. It's his first time ever being in the booth, and two, like there were like key plays, and they're not even doing replays. Like Malik Jackson got called for unsportsmanlike conduct, and they just never followed up. Like he stormed off to the sideline, sat on the bench after the play, and they just like never followed up as to why that happened. Brandon Graham got called for a face mask. They never followed up. Deontay Johnson got hurt, never came back in the game. And like I clearly saw that he was hurt on this punt return. They didn't talk about it for the next quarter. It was just like it was one of the worst broadcasts. And then the officiating, and not in a way like, oh, the Eagles got screwed. If the refs were better, we would have won. Like they were just bad for everybody. That's a
bad combination of both.
Yeah, it was thank God for the talent on the field, because the talent everywhere else was not there.
And speaking of talent, we're going to be joined by an extremely talented NFL blogger and analyst on our Thursday show, Lindsay OK. Lindsay OK on Twitter with 2 Ys is going to be joining us. Massive Joe Flacco fan, massive Josh Rosen fan, but in general, just a completely smart and talented person within the NFL media.
I'm excited for that. We caught her at a good week because Joe Flacco is starting for the Jets, so couldn't have timed that any better.
And Josh Rosen might be a Cowboy.
And Josh Rosen could be trade bait for your Dallas Cowboys. We'll definitely have to get into that with her. So that should be a really fun interview to do. And we'll cut up with her. And then we will look forward to week 6 because we both have 2 key games in the first game of the Andy Dalton era. So that should be a fun show.
Yeah, and then the following Monday, we may be recording as the Cowboys are on Monday Night Football, so that should be interesting.
That's our first time doing that, so that'll, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we might have to do a late night recording, actually, right after the post game.
True. That'll be interesting. Either way, that'll be interesting. That'll be fun. A lot of good stuff coming up.
Awesome. Well, thank you for listening to Birds vs. Boys here. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify or Google, watch us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Birds vs. Boys Pod, at branded_sports on Twitter, thebrandedsports.com. Shout out to producer Vince behind the scenes as always. This was episode 15. And again, we will have Lindsay OK with us next episode, which will drop on Thursday. Praying for you, Dak.